What's up, Broncos country? Welcome back inside the UC Health Training Center for today's edition of Broncos Now. Team reporter and host Sydney Jones here. And coming up on today's episode, we'll take a look at this week's final injury report. Plus, Broncos lead writer Aric DiLalla joins the show for a game preview, and we'll go inside the locker room as the players discuss their upcoming matchup. All that and more on tonight's episode. Broncos are set to face the Indianapolis Colts in primetime at Empower Field at Mile High tomorrow. With the game being now just 24 hours away, there were no media press conferences today, and the team held a short practice as they continue to gear up for this matchup. Broncos lead writer Aric DiLalla now joins me here in the Broncos podcast studio to take a look at this matchup and discuss what to watch for on Thursday night. Aric, appreciate you joining me today.
Yeah, it feels like we were just here previewing a game.
I know we were. A short week also affects us.
Yeah, it does.
Well, Aric, the offense, is coming off one of their better performances despite the loss on Sunday, arguably Russell Wilson's best game as a Broncos so far. How do you hope to see this offense really build on that performance on Thursday night?
Yeah, I think you want to see the big plays continue. I believe the Broncos had 5 passes down the field of at least 20 yards. That's good to see. They're second in the NFL, Sydney, in deep passes this season. So clearly that's working. You'd like to see them continue to build on the red zone success. They're 3 of 4 in their last 4 red zone trips in terms of scoring touchdowns.
Yeah.
So that's been a marked improvement from where the team started the season. And then, I think the fourth quarter still illustrates that when the Broncos need it, Russell Wilson's there to kind of, I don't want to say bail him out, but he can do things that not a lot of quarterbacks can do and capture that fourth quarter magic. And so you want to see all of those things continue. I would say you need to be better on third down. I believe 3 of 11 this past week. You've got to be better running the football. I think that's important. And whether it's Melvin Gordon, Mike Boone, Latavius Murray, if he plays, whoever it might be, you've got to be better in terms of not putting yourself in 2nd and 12 or 1st and 15 with a penalty. I mean, those things hurt the Broncos in the third quarter when they only had 1 first down on 3 drives. So they've got to clean some of that stuff up, but you see the flashes that you want. You see the, a lot of the good things are very evident. You just have to do it more consistently now.
Yeah, Aric, you mentioned Melvin Gordon, Mike Boone, maybe Latavius Murray stepping up for the run game. Obviously, it's tough to lose someone like Javonte Williams. This team's been riddled with injuries this week. Him and, of course, outside linebacker Randy Gregory, they were both added or put on the IR this week. How do you think this team really responds without them, especially in the run game, like you mentioned?
Yeah, they're going to have to count on Melvin Gordon. Obviously, Mike Boone's going to get some carries, I think, but Melvin Gordon's got to step up. He's got to find a way to hold on to the football and make big plays. And listen, he's run the ball well. It's not like he's been stopped for no gain or negative yardage every time he's run the football. Even on the play where he fumbled, I think a 7-yard gain. And so he's done some good things. He's shown his ability to be efficient in the red zone, but he just has to find a way to hold on to the football. And maybe, Sydney, it does help him that, he's talked a lot about splitting carries with Javonte and how's that going to work? Hey, do I deserve more carries?
He's really done that his entire career, split carries.
And so maybe now that's kind of out of his head a little bit, maybe that helps and he can just focus on, hey, I'm going to run the football and be the best Melvin Gordon I can be.
Right.
But the offensive line has to be better there. The tight ends, if there's a fullback in as a lead blocker, they've all got to be better in the run game. It's not just the running back who needs to improve. And then you look at the defensive side of the ball, that to me might be the biggest question mark, is just how do you replace a guy like Randy Gregory who
hard too.
Yeah, he was playing better than anybody except for Pat Surtain probably on that defensive side of the football. And it's not just in, when he's rushing the quarterback. He's great against the run. He's great when he's the second guy to the ball and can try and knock the football loose. He just has that energy that you love to see a defensive player have. And so it's going to be a big test for Baron Browning, for Nick Bonito. Jonathan Cooper, I assume at some point will come back and be healthy. I don't know if he'll be available this week, but those guys are all going to have to figure it out and step up. And Bradley Chubb too, he's got to do more. And I know he can't, you don't want him to press, but at the same time, you do want to see a little bit more production there.
And Bradley Chubb was the first to say this week that he needed to step up. He did not perform at the level that he wanted to on Sunday either.
Yeah, exactly. And we know what he's capable of. We just need to see it now.
Yeah. Well, Aric, speaking of the defense here, we saw them really struggle to stop the run on Sunday versus the Raiders. We did hear defensive coordinator Ejiro Evero say that the biggest thing for them this week is just to not try and do too much out there. Stick to the scheme, stick to the fundamentals. We did find out earlier that Colts running back Jonathan Taylor will be out due to an ankle injury there. Do you think it might be time this week for the defense to really bounce back?
Yeah, I mean, listen, 3 out of the 4 games, they've been really good.
Yeah.
And they've been good against the run in the past. And you look at what the 49ers did to the Rams on Monday Night Football, and you think, okay, well, that's a pretty impressive performance by the Broncos defense. So I'm not worried about them bouncing back. Obviously, you've got to be a little bit more physical, I think. You've got to do just your job. And listen, it's hard to blame a guy like Bradley Chubb. It's 3rd and 1 down near the red zone. You want to make that play to give your team a chance to win the game. You're trying to do everything you can. It just doesn't work out there. So play a little bit more within the defense, which clearly has shown that it works when you play it as designed. And then the last thing is the offense has to do its part too, because if the defense is out there for 70-something plays, you can count on them forcing a punt. You can count on them holding the opposing offense at the goal line for a field goal. You can count on them making a big play here and there. But the thing about the running game is you get worn down as the game goes on.
They do so much.
Exactly. And so if it's if the offense can do its part, hold on to the ball, make the time of possession a little bit more even, make the play count a little bit more even, so that instead of having to be out there for, 12 drives or 10 drives, maybe it's 8, maybe it's 6. I mean, maybe you're able to really grind this game down a little bit to the point where you help your defense out.
Eric, looking at this game, what do you think's really the matchup to watch for on Thursday night?
Ooh, I mean, I think it's going to be about Matt Ryan.
Yeah.
He's had some fumble issues here to start the season.
Right.
9 fumbles through 4 games, lost 3 of them. But he's dynamic enough, he's talented enough that he can pick you apart. So this Broncos secondary has to be ready. You've got to put the Colts in 3rd and long, 2nd and long, make them drop back to pass and give your pass rushers a chance. And that also, too, stops the Colts from throwing these intermediate routes, stops them from getting into a rhythm.
Yeah.
All the things that you don't want an offense to do. I think being physical in the run game to start will help that, and then sets up those 2nd, 3rd and longs. But if they can get to Matt Ryan a couple of times, maybe force a fumble or 2, that'll go a long way toward helping to win this game.
Well, Eric, as you know, short weeks are always tough. Just such a quick turnaround. I think maybe this Thursday night game kind of comes at a really good time for this Broncos team.
Yeah, I mean, listen, they're a little bit beat up in terms of Javonte and Randy, but those guys weren't going to play this weekend anyway, so it doesn't matter about Thursday. It does help from an injury standpoint that you're not facing a Shaq Leonard, a Jonathan Taylor on the other side. But I also think it's helpful that it comes at home. That's a big advantage, and you don't have to dwell on this loss to the Raiders that obviously – everybody really wanted to beat those guys, snap the losing streak. And so to be able to get right back to it, put your best foot forward again, I think is really helpful. And listen, if the Broncos get a win on Thursday, they then have an extended period of time to rest before a big game in LA. So this could be a springboard for what's to come, but you got to go out there and you got to do it.
Right, last but not least, Eric, got a game prediction? How are you feeling?
Yeah, I think that Thursday night games are always a little bit weird. So you never know quite what's going to happen, but I'll go Broncos 24, Colts 16, and I think the Broncos, knock on wood for the first time in a few weeks here, we won't be sweating it out. I do think that the Broncos should have a good hold on this game.
All right, I like it. Eric, appreciate your time and your insight. I will see you out in Power Field at Mile High tomorrow.
You got it, Sydney.
Now let's take a look at this week's final injury report. Some good news today. Russell Wilson was not given a game status, so he is good to go for tomorrow's game. However, outside linebacker Jonathan Cooper, safety PJ Locke, guard and center Quinn Miners, and outside linebacker Aaron Patrick have been ruled out. And wide receiver Tyree Cleveland, cornerback Darius Phillips, and offensive lineman Billy Turner were all listed as questionable. And to wrap up today's show, we were in the locker room earlier this week and heard from several players. They spoke on preparing for the Colts on this short week and how they look to bounce back following Sunday's loss. Take a listen.
There's no time to panic at all, I feel like. I mean, we just got to make sure that we locked in. We to 500 right now and got to make sure we get to 3-2. And one thing about this league, you just got to stack wins each and every week. And I feel like we did a good job with those, week 2, week 3. And we kind of dropped the ball in week 4, so we just got to get back on track to stacking those wins.
Yeah, good thing is early. obviously it's a quick turnaround, so our mind, our energy got to shift towards Indianapolis in a quick turnaround. So we got to just prepare the right way and focus on, the next game ahead.
I mean, you got to be a pro. Whatever you have to feel like you need to do better on, you got to do it. But taking pass sets is something you should do every day. Being a left tackle, you gotta be square. You gotta take a pass set. You gotta feel comfortable in your feet. That's an everyday thing. That's just what I've always done when I turn my career around, is take as many pass sets a day as I can. If it's in my living room, if it's in my kitchen, if it's visualize it as I'm driving to the facility or driving home.
Well, that'll do it for today's episode of Broncos Now. Broncos Country, thanks so much for tuning in today and every day. Don't forget, kickoff is set for 6:15 Mountain Time tomorrow evening at Empower Field at Mile High. I hope to see you all there, but if not, I will be right back here on the Broncos Podcast Network and YouTube Friday afternoon following the game. I'll see you all then.